Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear us? All right. That's a lot of thumbs. Thank you. I think this is the largest Zoom meeting we have ever had. I think the capacity is 50 or somewhere near there, and it looks like we have just about that many and more in groups. So that's great. Thank you for joining us today. We have you all on mute at the moment because we think it might be a little chaotic if we didn't. But we have you on mute. We're going to go through our presentation to you all. And then if you have questions, if you could put them on the chat section here, and we're going to come back at the end and try to answer as many as we didn't get through in the course of the presentation. Also, if you have very specific questions to your institution, we're happy to answer those questions. We're happy to contact you after this, where we can kind of walk through or talk through whatever those issues or questions are. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Cheryl Hickey. I'm the Administrator of Accreditation, and I'm joined here at the table by
Art Boyd. I'm an analyst with the Professional Services Division.
And
I'm Miranda Gutierrez, an assistant consultant with the Professional Services Division.
And Hart and Miranda are going to be shepherding this work for us over the next few months. We are really, really committed. First of all, we're very excited that elementary subject matter programs are very, very likely to come back. And I say very likely because we still have the Office of Administrative Law that have to approve the regs. But we are really excited. We know that there's a lot of support in the field, and we are really committed to getting them up and running as fast as we possibly can. So we are happy to be here with all of you today, and we're just going to walk through our presentation. I want to make sure that we cover everything that we need to cover. We're trying to make this process as minimally cumbersome as we can. At the same time, there are certain things that we need to see before we can approve the programs, but we want to get them up and running so that you have them fully operational as soon as possible. So the first thing I want to mention is, so hold your questions until the end, or go ahead and add them to the chat line, and we'll get to those. Excuse me, those. We are planning on putting together an elementary subject matter web page. We do not have it right now. So for the moment, the Commission has a technical assistance webpage. So under our big category of program sponsors, under the ctc.ca.gov, you go down to program sponsors. There's one on technical assistance. We're going to put the PowerPoint from today's discussion. We're going to put eventually the FAQs that we're going to develop, and any other information and materials. A guidance document will be put there as well. And as soon as this specific web page for elementary subject matter programs is built, we will have everything housed in one place. So, but for now, use technical assistance. You will be getting information as the process continues. As I said, if you have specific questions about your institution and how or what guidance you need, we're going to use our email address that is IPR, so Initial Program Review, IPR@ctc.ca.gov. So if you could direct those questions there after this, we will be certain to, we're happy to have follow-up phone calls and that kind of thing with you. So I think we can just get started on the PowerPoint. We're going to put the PowerPoint up and move on. We are. All right. Okay, so. Yeah, so I see a few people on the right-hand side. Can you see the PowerPoint? Thumbs up? All right. I think I saw a couple of heads shaking. All right, so where are we right now with elementary subject matter programs? So the Commission has gone ahead and started the regulatory package process. The regs are now sitting over with the Office of Administrative Law. They only approve regulations twice a year, April and October of every year. And so that regulatory package is over there under review. We'll be answering questions from the Office of Administrative Law. We hope that there will be very few questions. maybe only of a technical nature, and that they will be approved. But the earliest they will be approved is April 1st, 2017. So that is the date, and the very day that they are approved, we will make sure to let everybody know that that is the point at which programs can begin waiving the CSET, or completion of the elementary subject matter programs can begin to waive the CSET requirement. So there are two things that need to happen in order for that to happen. One, the regs need to pass Office of Administrative Law, and your programs need to be either reactivated if you were previously approved in the past for an elementary subject matter program, or if you are a new program, an institution that didn't offer it in the past but want to now, you need to go through the approval process. So those two things need to happen before you can actually offer the program to waive the CSET. So those are the two things there. I'm gonna turn this over to Hart. He's gonna walk through the approval process.
All right, so up on your screen right now, you can see the requirements for submission for both old or programs that are going to be reactivating, and then proposed new ESM programs. So for reactivating, you just need a cover page, the course scope and sequence, the alignment matrix, and then any relevant course syllabi. And for new programs, it'll be all that same information, but then there will also be a response to preconditions and adopted program standards, and a cost recovery fee, which will be $1,000. Mm-hmm. Yes. So here's some more components that will comprise a submission for both programs that are reactivating and new programs. Up here at the top, you'll see the preconditions. This will really only relate to new programs right now. And the preconditions, they consist of 84 total semester units for the entire program. And then within those 84 units will be 12 units in a concentrated area. So that'll be reading, language and literature, history and social sciences, math, science, visual and performing arts, PE, and human development. Basically, with the preconditions, it's just an assurance that your proposed program will be doing what the preconditions lay out. And these preconditions, they should be evident in either the alignment matrix or course scope and sequence. They don't necessarily need to be touched upon in the narrative to the program standards. However, if you put them in there, that is fine as well. However, the reviewers should be able to see within the matrix and the course scope and sequence that the preconditions will be met. As far as the narrative response to the program standards, this is also for only new programs. Previously approved programs do not need to provide a narrative response to these new two standards for the ESM programs. And so the two program standards that need to be addressed, the first one will be program design, and the second will be program resources. Each of these responses should be no more than 5 pages in length. I really want to stress that. Do not go over 5 pages. We do not need to see a lengthy narrative in this regard. For the course scope and sequence, this will apply to both old and new programs here. It's basically an academic plan that details the entirety of course offerings for the ESM program. It will also show a proposed order for the courses of the program to be taken in. However, you know, they don't have to be taken in that order. It's just a proposed order. And then for the scope of each of these courses, we don't really want a lengthy narrative again here, 2 to 3 sentences tops. For the alignment matrix, this also applies to old and new programs here. And the completed matrix will provide links to specific course syllabi and key assignments, lectures, assessments that directly respond to the SMRs within each domain. And here we have an example of an alignment matrix that will be very useful to everyone here. On the left-hand side is the text for the SMR for each domain. And then in the right column, this is the area for institutions to provide a link or links to the relevant course syllabi. Also under that, you can see that this is where you're going to provide links to key assignments, assessments, all that. However, there we would like there to be a link within the document that goes directly to the relevant section of the course syllabi.
And I guess what we should say also is that on the standards page, you'll find the template for the elementary subject matter program course matrix.
Right. And so here is an example of a course scope and sequence. Miranda was nice enough to reach out for a course scope and sequence that we thought did a really great job of illustrating the type of information that should be provided here. On the left-hand side, you have the course sequence, and it lists the courses in proposed order the prospective educator could take these courses in. And then on the right-hand side, you have the course scope, which kind of lays out a really brief description of the course or what sort of objectives the course is going to cover. However, we do understand that it might not come out quite this clean because there are a number of different concentration areas. There might be overlap within courses that are addressing the same SMR. So as far as that is concerned, kind of the burden of proof is on you to provide us the necessary information. So say you have a biology 150 class and a biology 165 class that address the same area. You are going to have to provide evidence for both of those courses, even though they will have overlapping information. Okay, and so this slide here is obviously only really related to new programs here. And if you're submitting a program proposal, you know, although we all might like every SMR to be addressed and everything to be perfect first go around, that might not necessarily be the case, and the standards might not be addressed for a certain number of reasons, and just a couple of them just might be non-responses to the standards or an insufficient response, or it just might be completely an off-standard response.
Okay, so now we're going to look at the approval process for program review. So now that you know the requirements and you've submitted a document, what does the process look like? Well, first off, the reviewers are going to take a review at the document and they're going to make a couple determinations. They're either going to find that the standard and the SMRs are aligned or that more information is needed. Your standard or SMRs are aligned if you provided enough information for reviewers to determine or understand how your program will meet the SMR and the standard if you're a new program. Reviewers will typically request more information if there was not enough information for them to determine how you meet the SMR or how you're going to meet the program standard. And usually reviewers will prepare a feedback statement that provides guidance to you so that you know what you need to resubmit and how to resubmit and provide the information. So once your program is reviewed by a reviewer, feedback will be sent to your institution by commission staff. Everything happens between commission staff and reviewers and commission staff and the programs. The reviewers and programs won't have any contact or communication about the review. It's all kept confidential. The program will then provide a response to the reviewer's feedback and submit it back to commission staff, and then we'll send it back to the original reviewers. So it's really a review. You accept your feedback and write revisions and resubmit. And this process will continue until all your standards and SMRs are aligned. Once reviewers determine that an SMR is met and aligned or that a standard is aligned, they don't go back and revisit the text in a resubmission. Once it's aligned, it's aligned. And this is so that each subsequent review is easier on the reviewers and so that you're only responding to information that's needed. So this is just a little illustration of what the process looks like. It really is a process cycle of review, revise, and resubmit. And again, this process will continue until all standards are aligned. It can happen in 2 tries, it can happen in 3 or 4, but again, nothing goes for approval until all standards and SMRs are found to be aligned by reviewers. So just a little more about the review process. The submissions will be read by 2 reviewers who are experts in the field, which would be many of you guys. And then they'll review your alignment matrices, course syllabi, and any other documentation that you feel is necessary to submit with your submission. They'll read each SMR line by line to determine that your course syllabi gives candidates an opportunity to learn that competency. So you want to make sure that your program response is clear in how you're going to meet each standard SMR. You want to adequately address the full text of the standard if you're a new program responding to the 2 standards. And then readers will be looking to see if there's enough sufficient supporting evidence or documentation to see that the standard and SMRs are being met.
Okay, so a submission requirement for both old and new programs, obviously, here is going to be the alignment matrix. And within the alignment matrix, there's going to be course descriptions and syllabi that you'll provide, examples of class assignments, and then student assessments. All this should be directly linked within the alignment matrix. Let's see. You know, some of this information might be addressed, if you're a new program, maybe addressed somewhere else within maybe your narrative response to the standards, and that's fine. You can link in there. As long as we receive the information, that's fine. However, just for matters of clarity and for just to take the burden off of the reviewers a little bit, it's probably best to do or to provide all that information within the alignment matrix, just because it'll be easier on everyone to do so. If the submission states that it will address a topic in a particular course, there should be a hyperlink that takes you directly to a course syllabus where that topic is covered. So again, kind of covering the same grounds here. Just provide the evidence for us. If every professor creates their own syllabus, all syllabi needs to be submitted for each class. There might be some sort of template that universities use, say English 101 class, and it's kind of just the same syllabus for each of those classes. That's fine. You can just provide one of those. However, if it is specific to an individual professor and a specific course, you will need to provide that information.
Okay, so we're going to look at the criteria for aligned standards and SMRs. When reviewers are reviewing your submission, they're going to be looking for a couple things to determine that your standard and SMRs are aligned. Is the information you provided clear? Does it remain consistent throughout the document? Is it complete? And is it supported by evidence? And by evidence, we mean links to the appropriate syllabi, the appropriate assessments, rubrics, assignments. And we just want to emphasize that you do not have to submit every single assignment, assessment, rubric, only the key assessments that address the SMR. And one more thing to note is, since the programs are read by a team of 2 reviewers, the reviewers are going to have to reach consensus about the status of each standard and SMR before we can send it back to the institution. So once all of that is complete, once standards are aligned, SMRs aligned, you're a new program to pay your cost recovery fees. Your institution will provide the commission with a final document that incorporates any changes that were made throughout the process. We will ask for a 2 to 3 paragraph describing your ESM program. And once we have all that, staff will make a recommendation to the commission for final approval. It's important to note that even though all your 2 standards and SMRs are all aligned, the commission grants final approval for subject matter programs, and they'll only do so at a regularly scheduled commission meeting. And these typically occur in the consent calendar. It's a pretty quick item, but the commission still does have to give final approval.
So I think for the most part, you'll see that if you have one pathway or one program with very specific criteria or coursework that's required, it should be a fairly straightforward submission. You submit your course alignment matrix. If you're a new program, it would be the 2 new standards, the course scope and sequence, and it should be straightforward. Some of you have programs that have many, many options. And so we understand that that could seem to get voluminous. And so you may want to talk to us after this about your specific institution and how you might present the information so that we can make it easier on you and make it easier on us to review. But we know that that's possible. You know, there may be multiple ways that a candidate can meet those SMRs, but we do need verification that any of the options do also align with the SMRs. So our last plea to you before we open it up to question is we really are going to need reviewers. Like I said at the beginning, we're really committed to getting these up and off the ground and quickly reviewed. We would like to bring reviewers together several times in the spring to look at these documents, to take a look at them and to decide whether or not they're aligned, and to get some feedback to all of you quickly. So we do need reviewers. So what you're going to start to see very soon is you're going to see a call in our PSD e-news. And if you don't already belong subscribe to the PSD e-news, please do so. You can go on our website, and on the right-hand side there is a link to the PSD e-news recipients. Please do that, because that is where we will advertise a lot of information related to what we do here in the office as it relates to standards and accountability. So you will begin to see that we're going to ask for names of individuals who might share a little bit of their expertise and their time with us. Unfortunately, we cannot pay reviewers. We're not allowed to do that, but we can reimburse for travel. We can get you all to one place and to actually review these. As I said, we would like to set aside a couple of days at least very soon, start identifying some times that might be available and asking all of you to see if you can spare 1 or 2 of your professors to help kind of look at these documents and make sure that they are aligned, and it'll make your review go much faster as well, because we do expect a number of these to come through the door very quickly. So I think that is probably it. We want to go to the next one, which is the resources.
Yeah, and I just want to add on the call for reviewers. The timeline and process is also dependent on the number of reviewers we have as well. So It's really important that send some reviewers our way.
Yeah, exactly. And we will do a little bit of calibration and training on some of those days where we're able to bring the reviewers together. So on this last one, do you want to do this last one?
Yeah, so many of you might already be familiar with the subject matter preparation program page, and there you can find an ESM Handbook, which has the 2 program standards, the preconditions, and the subject matter requirements. There's also a template for the matrix on there. And then as Cheryl said, we are going to be working on making a dedicated ESM webpage. You'll be able to find lots of information there too. We'll probably send out the link once it's a link in the PSD e-news once it's complete. And then again, as Cheryl said, for right now, you can use the initial program review email inbox to send any questions that you might have, and that's just ipr@ctc.ca.gov.
And we're happy again to set up a time to talk with you specifically about your institution if you have some very specific questions about, well, how would this work, or what can we do here? I think maybe we can open it. Oh, yes, there is a guidance document that we will be putting out very soon, and that will go on the web pages as well. We don't have the technical assistance webpage up here, but if you go to the ctc.ca.gov technical assistance under educator prep, you'll see a technical assistance page. And Hart and Miranda are available to field questions about your particular programs. If we hang up after today, please feel free to contact us. So do we want to open it up for some questions, or there's more?
So we're actually going to spend a couple minutes going over this guidance document. We've received a lot of questions that are very similar, so we want to make sure that we get you answers, because if we're getting multiple questions on the same thing, we want to make sure that the field understands.
Right, and a lot of this information was already covered in the PowerPoint here. However, we think since we did receive a lot of the same questions after the PSA went out. We do think that it's good to kind of reaffirm some of this information. So as you can see, it's just broken down in a couple different categories. For the documents to be submitted, it'll just go over that both old and new programs need to both submit an alignment matrix, course scope and sequence, course syllabi, and then that a new program will have to provide a narrative response to the preconditions and both of the standards.
Yeah, and so some questions came through about what is the course scope and sequence. And again, going back to the example in the PowerPoint, it's really just an academic plan that maps out which classes students would need or candidates would need to take. And then the course scope is just a brief 2 to 3 sentence statement. And usually this is taken from a course catalog. We just need to know what's going to be covered in that class. And it's very, very minimal and short.
And a lot of the course scope and sequence you should already have. Use the catalog, use your, information that you have already, if you have those programs and those courses being offered already. We're trying to not reinvent the wheel or have you reinvent the wheel.
Right, and so for the alignment matrix, you saw it previously in the PowerPoint here. We provided the little infographic of it where on the left-hand side it'll be the subject matter requirement, and then on the right-hand side you're just going to be providing the links to the relevant course or courses, and then linking within that document to the specific assignments, assessments, whatever it happens to be. However, the matrix doesn't need to include all assignments or assessments, just those that are relevant to that particular SMR.
Right, and then so as a requirement of the preconditions, each program is required to have a concentration of at least 12 units in one of the content areas. And so these 12 units are included in the 84 units. How you choose to include a concentration into your program is your decision, but do note that all syllabi must be provided for all courses that candidates can take to meet the concentration requirement. So if you're going to offer 4 different concentrations, we need all course syllabi for all those different concentrations or pathways.
And kind of piggybacking off of that concept into the need for collaboration within academic disciplines at your particular institution, we do understand that you are going to have to go out and meet with a number of deans of different education departments within the institution, and that's just how it's going to have to be if you are going to offer a number of different concentration areas. However, I think something to keep in mind, and it's kind of addressing what Cheryl was talking about earlier, it may seem daunting right now with the amount of information you are going to have to provide. However, I think something that needs to be realized is that once you're approved, you are approved. You are not continuing through any sort of accreditation cycle. Once your program is approved, it will be approved indefinitely. So yeah, it may seem fairly difficult to gather all that information, but you will only have to do it this one time until your program is approved.
Yep. And then just going back to the program standards, again, only new programs need to respond to the program standards. Programs who are reactivating do not need to provide a response to their program standards. Again, these can be found in the ESM Handbook, which is on the subject matter preparation program page. Again, limited to 5 pages of narrative. We don't think that a response should be longer than that, so just keep it under 5 pages.
Yeah, and then for the document submission, you've heard this email address a number of times today, but all submissions will go to that IPR email address right there, and please submit it as a single PDF that includes a table of contents with working hyperlinks in them. And then again, here's that little infographic that splits it up into programs that are reactivating their programs, then the new programs, and what the relevant information would be that you would need to submit.
And I just think it's important to add to really make sure that all the links work within the document, because when we receive the documents, we'll go through and review them as well to make sure everything works. And unfortunately, if the hyperlinks aren't working, we're going to have to send the document back, because we can't send it to reviewers like that. So we'll want you to revise the hyperlinks before we can send out to reviewers. And the last piece we want to cover on this guidance document are the cost recovery fees. Again, only institutions who are proposing to offer a new program are responsible for the cost recovery fees, and those are $1,000. So programs reactivating do not have to pay cost recovery. And that's what we have on the guidance document.
And there were a couple questions that had come in about.
Yeah, so we also received a couple more questions through the survey, or excuse me, through the webinar registration. Let's see, and we got a question about courses that were taken at a community college and how how a university can honor those. And really it's up to you to grant equivalency to determine that those courses that students or candidates have already taken are equivalent to the course that you're offering and demonstrates that they know the subject matter requirements. We got a question asked about candidates who are previously taking an ESM program or taking the courses that would be approved. How does that work for the subject matter waiver? You want to tackle that one, Cheryl?
I think for now, you're talking about candidates who have already taken it or are currently taking courses that may be incorporated into the program. I think, again, that may be an institutional decision. So institutions always have the option of granting equivalency and looking at coursework taken by a student to determine whether or not it applies or does not apply. And I think that will remain the case. I think where it gets more confusing and where I think we need the commission to weigh in on is in terms of candidates who may have acquired a bachelor's degree under what is your elementary subject matter program or will be approved, and whether or not we can grandfather any of those in. I think that is still for discussion based, and we will need to do a little bit more review and research and talk to our general counsel about some of that. So stay tuned on that question.
And there was also a question about whether courses, concentration courses needed to be upper division or lower division. Do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, as far as upper and lower division goes, it doesn't matter. They will all apply towards the concentration area as long as they are not remedial courses, they can be used.
And then there was also a question about whether you need to respond to common standards with this submission, and that answer is no. Those only apply to educator prep programs. So this is a subject matter program. And then I think that was about it.
Okay.
So
I think what we'll do now is open up the chat line to see what your questions were and whether we've responded to them. And this is going to be a little challenging because we're going to have to see, we're going to have to look at the same time. So, oh, can they see the questions too?
no.
No,
Do you want me
okay.
to share screen?
Let's see.
I can do that.
It looks like, let's see, we're going to try to share our screen with you all, see if we can see what some of the questions are, see if you can see what some of the questions were. Okay. Oh, the PSD notes that the program standards have been updated to align with the CCSS and NGSS. Is there a list of specific updates? We completed a review based on a list of differences could speed. I don't believe right now that we have any sort of cross-reference. We could check into that. I don't think that we have that. These are, from my understanding, pretty different than previous ones. So we did talk about how much the IPR cost recovery fee is, and that's $1,000. And Sac State, hopefully you've been able to hear. I think a lot of these first ones are just checking in. Is there a required GPA? No, not from the state's perspective. There is not a required GPA. That is an institutional decision.
Go down more. Okay.
What will the procedures be for departments deciding necessary substitutions? What sort of discretion will programs have? So the institutions, as I said, equivalency is something that definitely is honored here. We will approve your program given the information you've provided us, but you do have the discretion as an institution of higher education to look at coursework taken by candidates or by students to determine whether or not they have met something similar or equivalent to the courses that you offer. So that is entirely your discretion. I think we've answered a bunch of these. Do we need to gather syllabi from community colleges with which we articulate subject matter classes? Yes, absolutely. So that if it is a structured part of your program, then we need to see those syllabi to make sure that those courses are offered. If it is a matter of a couple of candidates taking classes, and then it falls into the equivalency. So you might want to talk with us specifically later about what you're thinking about. We're happy to have that conversation directly with you. Lots of hellos. Okay, I'm asking a question. Okay. Your internal review, a lot of you have internal review processes. We totally understand that. You need to do whatever you need to do. There isn't a specific timeline also on this, so if you need to go through your institutional review process and submit later, that's perfectly acceptable to us. We just want to, as they come in, we want to be able to respond as quickly as possible to get them up and running, so that if you do want to offer one, say beginning in the fall of next year, that you're ready to roll if that's at all possible. All right, in the past, I don't want to jump. The Chancellor's Office has required us to keep our BA programs at 120 units unless given an exemption. If programs require 84 major courses and we add 48, this is well over 120. How do we stay within? Okay, so they don't need to. An institution can always, the commission sets the floor. An institution can always add specific institutional requirements. So the 120 days should not, 120 hours units should not be a problem. Correct? Correct. I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page here. Okay, what is that one that's right in there?
In the past?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure I can answer that question. That is from R. Harris. Is that Rebecca? In the past, we had tracks in our elementary subject matter prep programs that met subject matter authorization for additional subject areas. Now that NCLB is gone, is there an advantage for the elementary subject matter prep programs to have coursework to meet additional subject matter authorization, or should be focused on meeting additional supplementary authorizations instead?
Certification.
That is a very, yeah, I'm not sure we can answer that question.
I know that subject matter authorizations were just to show that they were NCLB compliant, but since that's not an issue anymore, I don't know if there's necessarily an advantage to getting a subject matter authorization anymore. However, I think that's more of a certification question.
Yeah,
than it would be.
Let's take that question back to certification and maybe to up the ladder here to figure out. That's a good question. I'm not sure the answer of that. How detailed is the key assignment information should be? Is there a model application that has been approved? No, because we have not approved any of them in many years. And the commission considers as a good model. So right now we don't have, we often get asked, do you have examples and do you have templates and all that kind of thing? We don't have examples of programs that have been recently approved because we have not approved them since before NCLB. And they are different. We asked for a lot more narrative in the past, and this we're really focusing on just give us your description of your courses, your course matrices. So we don't have any examples yet. It is something we can think about in the future should an institution give us, we go through the approval process and an institution gives us an approval to go ahead and use them as an example. So we could keep that in mind, but we don't have them right now. But in terms of the key assignments, we do not need all of your assignments for every course. That would be too much. Pick the ones that are most relevant to the topic that is being asked for. And what we're looking for is coverage. Do you cover all of those domains? We're not going to be looking for, you know, well, they only cover it once rather than 17 times. So, or, you know, there's a little bit of depth we need to look for. Obviously, we need to look for both breadth and depth, but I don't think we need everything. So that's going to be kind of a decision that you're going to need to make. And then the reviewers, if they don't have enough information, they feel like they haven't been given good coverage, they will ask for that information. Okay. Does a proposed course sequence have to be approved by our institution as a program change prior to acceptance of the proposal by reviewers? So this is sort of, do you have to go through your internal process first before you submit to CTC? I think that's a decision you have to make, but I don't, from our perspective, we will respond to whatever we get. So I think you have to kind of figure out if we approve it and then your review process changes it significantly, you know, there's a gap there, a discrepancy there. So I think you'll need to kind of figure out what makes the most sense and how quickly you want to be up and running. How will transfer courses from community colleges? I think we talked about that. Mm-hmm. Some of the domains seem to be geared towards what students learn in multiple subject courses. Example, 1.4 assessment. Are ESMs expected to cover those in depth? Everything that is in the left-hand column of the course matrix needs to be covered. And again, the in-depth part is the professional judgment that will need to be considered from the perspective of the reviewers. We're going to try to calibrate them, but there needs to be some depth and breadth to what you're proposing.
One potential.
All right. Okay, so this is the question about how far back can you grant equivalency, I guess, or completion of your program for candidates that already took it prior to the April 1. I think I'm going to have to go back, and we're going to have to very carefully consider that question. The commission has been not terribly supportive of going back in time to approve. However, we understand what you're asking here. So let us go back on this one, and we will include that in the FAQs. Yes. Okay, so we'll include that in the FAQs. That's an important question, I think.
The intent to submit is updated. We just need to get it posted to the web. It does now include ESM as a program, so we will get that posted soon, so you can fill that out and submit to us.
It would be helpful, and I think the form is going to say whether you're reactivating a previously approved program or if it's a brand new program. I think that would be helpful, and if it doesn't say that, if you could just write it on there somewhere.
Yep.
Oh, the great question about conversion to the semester system. This must be from a CSU person. I'm sorry, I know that's very challenging. Okay, so if you had a previous ESM program and you are converting, we will still consider it a reactivated program, even though you're changing it significantly because you're converting to a semester system. I think that is only fair, that you're not penalized for the fact that your system is converting to a semester system. So rest assured, if you had an ESM program under the old system, you will be considered reactivating. Our options share a major core. Can we submit materials for just the core courses that address the SMRs, or do we also have to include the syllabi related for the option courses? We need the option courses as well. We know that that's not going to make people happy, but we do need that. And if you have a significant number of those, let's talk. Let's see how we can make things a little bit easier on you, even though we are going to need to make sure that they address the areas, because we need to know that student A and student B, even though they're taking different options, they're both getting the completion of the program and waiving the CSET. So we need to know that both of them have taken coursework that is aligned. Is the review ongoing, or is this at a period of time? Okay, the 2 commission meetings. I'm not sure which 2 commission meetings we're talking about, but is the review ongoing? This is ongoing. So at any point in time, from the moment that the regs are passed, you can continue to submit. 3 years from now, I mean, unless policy changes somehow, which I don't expect to do at the moment, you certainly can submit later on if you're not ready to submit now and aren't interested in submitting now.
I believe, though, we did put a cutoff date if you're going to be reactivating.
Okay.
There is a timeline for you to do that. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but it is in the PSA.
Thank you. Thank you. I forgot about that. Yes. So the set and time period has to do with only the reactivated.
Mhm.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. That's right. Okay. We have difficulty meeting VAPA in all domains, dance, theater, music, and art. Can we meet the 2 domains and still be waivered?
All,
You guys wanna take
all
that?
four,
Yeah.
all 4 are included in the SMRs. Yeah.
Does concentration syllabi need to be submitted as well? It's not listed in the matrix.
Yes,
yes.
because it'll be included in the 84 units of the program anyways.
Right. Again, how far back will the waiver go? That's the question we're going to have to get some general counsel advice on. We need to make sure that we're not going beyond what we are allowed to do. Okay. And this, I think the one from Sharon here, hopefully you can all see it. Are you interested in seeing PowerPoints for course discussions or only assignments to support the content in a course? I think the course syllabus, I think PowerPoints may be at a grade level that's a little bit more in the weeds than we need them to be. If it turns out that the PowerPoints are helpful later on to some of the questions that you may be getting from a reviewer, then there's no prohibition on providing that. It's just, I think that's a grade level that's kind of deep at this point in time. Because we really want to keep it at the, general assignments, some assessments, those kinds of things. Did we answer the first one? We have numerous courses that meet one standard. For example, several courses such as RWS 100 that students may choose from to fulfill one requirement. Can we submit documentation for just one of these courses? Okay, no. I think we've answered that one. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for you is the number of options that you may allow. It gives the student the greatest amount of flexibility, but it also makes it a little more challenging for you to gather the information that we need to say, yes, that works. Okay, if you have multiple programs going for the waiver, do we need to submit one document together? Not necessarily, no. I think it's probably better if you have multiple programs to submit multiple submissions.
That's something I want to talk about.
Yeah, and you'll want to probably follow up with us so that we are clear about what we're getting. Yeah, the SMR, I think we've answered a lot of these. Okay. To what extent do you expect us to adjust these details? Again, we want to see that they're covered. And the depth and breadth is going to be for the reviewers to sort of decide. So I think we first and foremost need to make sure that you cover all of the SMRs. And the depth is going to be, determined by what you provide to us and what they can glean from it. Mostly we're making sure that you cover all those areas and that the candidates will have a chance to be exposed to those topical areas. Do we need new program approval after making program changes? Okay, so here's what's different about subject matter programs that is not the case with educator preparation. Once we approve you, you are free to make the changes you need to make in the future without submitting any additional documentation to the commission. For many years, we tried to get these subject matter programs within the accreditation system. Given the volume within the accreditation system alone, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So no, so if 2 years from now you feel like you need to make changes to the program that was approved, at least at this point in time, you don't need to submit anything to us, nor do you need to get our approval. It's sort of the uniqueness of the subject matter programs. Hi there, what if our institution is submitting a renewal and a new program? Okay, that's fine. Does the new program also have to meet preconditions, or can those just be assumed for the institution? No, nothing is assumed when it comes to the 84 units. You don't need to do anything specific, but we need to be able to add up the courses to make sure that they add up to the 84 units and that the 12 units in the concentration. So, but it's perfectly fine to have a reactivated program and a new program. That's fine. Preferred location for the syllabi where we link them?
Assignment matrix.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I think the assignment matrix is the place where we need you to link the syllabi. But in terms of if you're talking about, does it need to go to a specific website or can it be housed someplace? No, there's no preferred location. Just make sure you have somebody outside of your system try the links to the syllabi to make sure they work again. Because even within your system, it might work and you don't realize that the minute it comes to us, we can't access those links. How long do we have to get our documents gathered in order to go through the reinstatement process?
I can pull up the PSA. I believe we need to know your intent to reinstate by June 30th of 2017.
Mm-hmm. So if you wanted, so we're looking at the PSA because I think that it had the timeline in it. What if we wanted to take our time and submit documents next fall? I believe that is allowable if I recall the PSA, but let us look at the PSA again.
June 30th.
June 30th of 17. So they need to submit, that's the notification. So you need to notify us by June 30th of 2017. So if you want to then submit documents after that, so you need to tell us, and then you have until June 30th. Institutions that notify the commission of their intent. Okay, so then you have another year after that. So you certainly could do that. Notify us by this coming June, and then work on getting your process in place and figure out what you want to do, and then you get us that document another year later. Hopefully that answers that question. Trying to think about where the links will go. Okay, that's the same question. Google Docs, Dropbox, any suggestions? Well, Google Docs is fine. The problem I find with Dropbox is that, one, it's hard to be very well organized. And then you can also pull out documents that on accident, and so you're missing documents. But I think any of those are fine. Websites are also really good. So if you already have an accreditation website that you might be able to piggyback on, that might be allowable, or a good way to do it. If we are reactivating, can we make some program changes to better align with the SMRs and streamline our concentrations? Absolutely, at this point in time. So I think our assumption is that you're not going to be reactivating the program you had many years ago, that you're reactivating for the purpose of, say, we're using that term because it's sort of internal. Yes, you were previously approved until the policy changed. But there is an assumption that you're going to modify that program that was previously being run so that you're aligned to the new standards. Incorporating all the new things that have taken place over the past 15 years. Okay, I think we answered. Our institution will have at least 2 programs doing waivers, one of which was already approved, the other would be new. Okay, 2 different documents would be good, especially because they're different. We aren't seeing the questions, we're only seeing the last slide. Oh goodness, okay. Okay, so there are a lot of questions here, let's see. Okay, so the question about the community college syllabi, as we have over 20 community colleges, if the courses are already articulated and the courses are part of an elementary ATT, would this be sufficient? I think that one might require us to talk it through with you specifically. Because we need to know how you know and how you've made those that articulation and how they cover the domains that we need to know. So let's do some follow-up on that one. That was L. Hutton. Okay, I think we've answered a lot of the questions that are in here. So, okay. And we'll kind of open it up after this for a little bit. Okay. What happens if we need to make changes to the program in the future? We answered that. Where do I link the option courses? Same places, wherever you choose to.
Do you need to have submitted your proposal before you can be a reviewer? No.
Okay, great.
Yes.
No.
Go down.
If we have integrated
That's a
program,
good question up there.
which one?
Can you go up a little bit?
Up a little bit more. We're looking. And I apologize if you can't see this, but we're trying to repeat the question so that you have it.
Application be submitted by the program that houses the undergrad subject matter program or by the credential program.
Oh, that's a good question. So should the application be submitted by the program that houses the undergraduate subject matter program or by the credential program? That's a good question. I think ideally we'd like to see collaboration among both of the institution, both the parts of the institution. However, I mean, we are not going to, I think we need to see that it's in the area that the ESM program is. Wherever that is housed should be where the official submitter should be. So if it's in your, if it's under your credential program, which I don't know if many are or aren't, to tell you the truth. So the application should be submitted by wherever your ESM program is housed. Let's do that. It's more simple. If we have an integrated program, can we assume the ESM program review covers the integrated program? Do we need to submit the MSCP courses as well as the BA courses? Okay. So if the question is, okay, so if you have an integrated program, that's an interesting one. Because right now the content is different for your credential program than your elementary subject matter part of the program. So we're going to have to do the two. If you're already, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with this because it depends on if you're proposing a new program or if you're proposing an existing program or if you're reactivating an existing program. So if it's a new program and one, you don't have an elementary subject matter program and you don't have a credential program, those need to be both reviewed and both reviewed with different eyes, one towards the credential aspects of it and one towards the elementary subject matter part of it. So I think it's going to depend on what you already offer and how you offer it. So Jessica, we're going to have to follow up with you to see exactly what you're referring to and what the facts are around your institution in terms of what's approved already. But that's a very, very good question. We're going to have to work on that. Okay. Can a different concentration from the designated ones be included, such as science, technology, engineering, and math, as opposed to science or math alone?
One of the identified content areas.
Yeah, so I can't tell from the question if you're asking for that to be in addition to what's required, which is the 12 semester units in one of the concentration areas. And if it is in addition, you certainly could do that. If it is instead of, I don't think that would work. Am I wrong about that?
This says including but not
Limited to
up here, but then this says in the identified.
So let's put that one in the FAQs and let's do a little research on that one. You guys are asking very good questions. We have a bilingual option. The core courses are the same, but the option courses are different. Where in the documents have you given us, do we link the courses that define the option but have nothing to do with the SMRs? Okay, so I think you're talking about, P. Sylvester, I think you may be talking about a bilingual option within your credential program. And if that's the case, that would be addressed within your credential program approval. If I'm wrong about what you're talking about here, we can talk more about that. figure it out. But we would not need to know what the bilingual options are. We simply need to know what's required here. Okay, so I think we're getting down to the last, questions, and then I think we'll open it up and maybe we'll see if we haven't covered everything. Okay, so if my institution has multiple programs submitting for a waiver, does each program need to complete intent to submit forms and individually pay for the cost recovery fee? I believe that is true, but I'm going to double check on that one. I don't normally do the cost recovery part of it, so and neither does Miranda or Hart. So we will check on that. So if you're submitting a couple of different programs, do you need to do $1,000 for each program? Let us check on that. And then we have 4 different programs across 3 different colleges. Do we submit together, or can each program submit on its own timeline? You can submit on your own timeline. We'll be reactivating as long as it's within the reactivation timeline. Yes. So do we want to see if anybody has additional questions as we,
Yeah.
can we hear them?
Yeah, let me.
Okay, I know we're going on an hour now, but if you would like to stay with us and ask some questions, we can unmute you, and if you could maybe raise your hand, we could try to see if we can answer those questions that we haven't yet answered.
So we're gonna give you the option to unmute yourselves, but please only unmute if you're gonna be speaking.
So maybe raise your hand, like in class, and we will call on you. I can see P. Sylvester. Yes, P. Sylvester's waving.
We'll call on P. Sylvester then.
Okay, hold on, P. Sylvester.
We'll unmute you.
We're going to unmute you so you can talk.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Hi.
Okay, I was the one that was asking about the, I have 2 questions. One, it has to do with it has to do with the 84 unit requirement. When you add 84 units, right, to 48 GE breadth, 48 units of GE is a Title V requirement. You can't change that. So if you have, if the commission says you have to have 84 core units, when you add the requirement of 48 breadth GE, that's the golden 4, and the 48 across the C1, C2, D1, D2, all the areas of GE, you get 132 units, which is well above the 120 that the Chancellor's Office is asking us to stay within unless we have an exemption. So I'm curious what we do with that.
Does any of the 48 meet the requirements I mean, what I'm asking is, can some of the 48 be counted within the 84?
They could.
Okay.
Now, here's what happens. Right now, the Graduation Initiative 2025 coming from the Chancellor's Office is telling us to do the best we can to get kids down in 120, right?
Right.
If we go down into the undergraduate and we start to fix what students can take in GE, then we create an accessibility problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because not every student doesn't know they want to be a teacher in their freshman year and start taking GE down in the lower division. Then when they decide they want to become a teacher, all of a sudden they have to take in the GE that the liberal studies requirement has demanded in order to stay within the 84 core units.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So there's a fundamental issue.
Could you do us a favor? Could you write that question up and we will run it past our executive office to get some guidance on that? Because I hear what you're saying, and I understand the directive to try to get students done and not add, lots and lots of more units. So if you would write that and send it to the IPR box, and we will make sure to kind of talk it through with the staff here.
Excellent. I've been working with Chris Mellon at the Chancellor's Office too, and she's also wondering. Now, here's another thing, the bilingual question. We have a baccalaureate in liberal studies with an option in bilingual.
Okay.
Baccalaureate in liberal studies, general, for example.
Okay.
The baccalaureate in liberal studies has a core set of courses. If you want an option in bilingual, then you're going to take Spanish and
okay.
American studies and all that. right?
Mhm.
That's an option program.
Okay.
So the core courses, the 84 units, the core courses address the subject matter standards that you've given us here in this matrix. But the bilingual portion of the baccalaureate program doesn't have anything to do with these standards because it has to do with bilingual education, which, this has nothing to do with the credential. It has to do with getting a BA, a baccalaureate in a core subject like liberal studies with an option, right?
Okay.
So if I link all of those syllabi for the option, do I just make up my own little place to link them? Because they don't address the subject matter standards here because it's an option.
So I guess, thank you for that clarification, because I wasn't sure if you were talking about the credential program and bilingual world that we're typically dealing with the bilingual program and the credential program. So that's helpful.
Have a special ed option, bilingual option,
Right. So I guess my question would be, and maybe we can take this offline afterwards, is how many of those bilingual option courses are the same as your non-bilingual option courses?
They're not, because they're an option, right? There's a when you say you have a baccalaureate program in liberal studies,
Mm-hmm.
that means you're getting a set of core units
Right.
in liberal studies, and the option means you're kind of concentrating on, and it's not an area of concentration. It's
Right.
in lieu of an area of concentration. So shall we just like list the bilingual option courses, list them down here as area of concentration courses or something?
Yeah, why don't you do that for now? I think I would love to have a conversation with you afterwards to talk it through and get more specifics about it. So that would be great.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's schedule some time, I don't know, next week or after the holidays to talk specifically about that option.
All right.
Because I think it would be helpful for us to see what you require now to give you some direction. If we could see concrete, they do this, but they do this,
Yeah, they all take the same courses to meet the subject matter requirements so they can teach the curriculum
Okay.
that's indicated in the ed code for
Right.
all K-8 teachers or K-6 teachers, but they get an option. So
Okay.
talk about it. Thank you.
And it may be something that we don't even need to weigh in on at all because it's.
I wouldn't think you would, to be
Right.
honest. I'm trying to get clear so I don't have this kicked back to me and say, well, add.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like it may not be something we need at all submitted. So let's talk. Let's set up a time to talk. For sure.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Sure.
I see Christina Chavez.
Okay, Christina Chavez, followed by Kathy. We're unmuting Christina.
Yes, hello. Thank you for your time today and certainly all the answers you provided.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Okay, hold on a second.
Perfect. That's a lot better.
Okay, so when we had the waiver program before, we were asked to use one of our capstone courses to verify subject matter through some type of portfolio assessment. Is that still the case or is that different?
That is up to you at the moment. There is no requirement in this. We just want to see where things are assessed, whether it's a capstone, whether it's, end of course, whatever. But there is no specific requirement for that in this go round. So that is up to the institution to determine how you cover the domains, how you actually assess. So
Okay, and so the assessment part needs to be mentioned in the matrix. Is that what?
that's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right. Thank you.
Yep.
Now we're going to Kathy. Okay.
Great, thank you. All right, San Bernardino, Cal State San Bernardino is one of the programs that has both just a regular BA, liberal studies program. The students graduate and then go to the credential program.
Okay.
And we have the integrated program,
Mm-hmm.
right? And part of the integrated program is the credential classes. So in effect, students are paying undergraduate fees, right? Which is the draw to this.
Okay.
But the coursework is essentially the same. Instead of taking these credential courses in order to get the required number of units to graduate. The students take in the BA program, just take a few more, 4 more courses. We call it in our area of concentration, but that's different than what you're talking about in terms of concentration. So if our BA program is approved, that should also, because the courses here are the same as the courses here, that should approve our integrated program. So I don't have this, I know this is special to me, but I don't have a lot of money.
Right.
For multiple things.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. So I think what we need to know is we need the course matrix for the courses that they take in common. And if you could just augment it with something that tells us in this other pathway, they take the exact same courses with these differences, so that we're clear. So it's not a completely new, we don't want to review 2 things if we don't have to either.
Right.
So
It's one application with 2 paths.
yes, if it is the same coursework. If it's different coursework, it's a different
No,
situation.
it's the same coursework.
That sounds fine.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Make sure that we know that it's got 2 pathways, but
Yes.
it's the same coursework. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Do we have other hands? We're looking. We have lots of faces on the on the screen. So, and we hope some of you will be reviewers and help us through this process. You know, we need your expertise too, especially when we talk about depth. You know, that is really something for the field to. That's not for us to dictate. It's for us to, you know, you feel comfortable saying this program does meet the standards. So we're hoping you're able to do that with us. I don't see any other hands. Are we missing anybody? We're looking at the chat to see if we might be missing, because we don't see as everybody. No?
Oh, okay, let's unmute her.
I'm having trouble seeing her name up there. K? I think it's K or KY? All right.
Right here.
Okay, we're unmuting you.
Okay.
Okay, it's Kim from State San Marcos. I'm still really confused about the community college syllabi issue. As someone pointed out, the CSUs are articulated with I don't know how many colleges. So to try to get syllabi for every person who teaches every course that we articulate with would be, I don't even know how to begin. So I'd like clarification on exactly which syllabi with which courses we need to let.
So that's a little tricky question, which is why you're confused, because I think there is articulation agreements, obviously, between lots of higher ed institutions, post-secondary programs, and the community colleges. But to be part of the official program of the elementary subject matter program, we need to know that those courses, if they're considered accepted as a formal part of your ESM program, we're going to need to know that they're offering those programs. So I think on that particular one, we may be talking to Marquita to see if we can get some better language about what we should be doing. Because if you are articulated with 20 community colleges or more, that is a lot. However, we need to see if you're accepting those courses as a formal part of your, I mean, if you've built your program so that it includes these courses and you're accepting that, we need to know, I mean, there's sort of those multiple stages. If it's all housed within your university, that's a lot easier. But so
we have what's called a lower division transfer protocol, which is established between, I think, the CSUs and the community colleges. So that is a very formalized document, and then each university distinguishes it by the courses that they offer.
right.
So one piece of this is in place, and that we've already gone through the LBTP review process. So that could perhaps be accepted by you all in lieu of trying to collect syllabi from every single CSU and community college
Okay.
on each application.
We may want to bring a small group of IHEs together to talk this particular item through, because I think from our perspective, just because you guys have articulation agreements, which is a good thing and a necessary thing, we don't have any assurance that it covers these particular domains. So we need to, if we can maybe put a little work group together to figure out how we make it easier on everybody, that might be the way to do it. So let me talk with Terry Clark about that and see if there is some tunnel that we can find a way through that, because I understand what you're saying. But let me see if we might be able to put a little work group together from all of you, especially, institutions that take community college students from a wide area, not maybe a rural area that only has 1 or 2 community colleges they deal with, but I understand what you're saying. I'm having trouble figuring out how, from our perspective, we get that assurance. So I'll put that on the very near radar. Meanwhile, work on the other things so we can move you forward.
Okay, will do.
Anybody else? Great. Okay. Oh, I saw.
Okay.
I think it was Kathy again. Kathy.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. So my brain is still going with the community college thing.
Okay.
What if they're just courses that we accept as transfer courses? So we have, again, our program, but instead of taking Math 301 from us, they have taken Math 29 or whatever.
Right.
Community college. Is that the same as the discussion that we were just having?
I think that's kind of what we're discussing. So the issue is whether or not it's actual design of your program, but we get, 80% of our students that go into the ESM program come from this community college, and we've already decided this one meets the same as what we offer here as a freshman. And so that would be best if it were in the document so that we can verify that. However, I understand that you also have the ability to grant equivalencies for individual students. So if you're talking about the occasional student that comes to you with a set of transcripts and says, does this work? Maybe not through the articulation agreement. That's, so there's a couple of different ways we need to think about this and work it through.
Right, because like you said, some rural places have 2.
Right.
In Medina, we have 2,000. Well, no, not really.
No, but you have
like that.
You have a number of community colleges you work at, and so so that is a tricky one. So there's a couple of issues, and this is really helpful actually to help us think about where the big questions are. So the big questions that I see so far are around the community college undergraduate pieces and the transfer agreements, and how those might help move this process along. And then the integrated, if you have, how exactly can we clarify that for you? I think the rest, those are the 2 biggies that I see. Would you all agree that those are the 2 biggies?
Maybe concentration areas.
And concentration areas outside of that, yeah. So I see Birmingham. I see, hold on, we're unmuting you.
Okay.
Hi, Terry.
In the concentration in reading, language, and literature, can that be in a language other than English?
I don't believe so, but let me go back and double check on that. So you're seeing if it's a language other than English, can it meet domain 1?
A lot of our students now take a concentration in Spanish.
Okay.
And that helps them in their teaching.
We will include that in the FAQs, and we will see if we can get, so let's Birmingham. We're writing this down. Got it. Okay. We'll answer that question. And I apologize, we don't have all the answers today, but this does help us try to figure out what the burning questions are and make sure we have answers for you very soon. Any other questions about this? And how many of you on the screen are willing to be reviewers? Hopefully. Yay, got some hands. All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And like I said, I really want to let you know that we do want these up and running as quickly as possible. So I know that that is the desire of the commission. So we will be pushing these forward as soon as we get them, and as soon as, you know, I don't know whether we are allowed, this is the other piece of the process that we need to figure out. I think we can bring them to the commission as soon as April. They usually meet in April. They usually meet in February and April, and I don't have their schedules set. But if we could, at the same time, get approval from OAL and have you have as many approved as possible in April and June, then you guys could be on your way approving, offering them whenever you can. So thank you very much. And if we don't have any other questions, I think that might be it. Thank you. And again, get the PSD news, because we'll let you know when that ESM page is ready to roll. And in the meantime, we're using the technical assistance page. And please email at ipr@ctc.ca.gov.
Yeah, real quick, we should be putting the PowerPoint from today up relatively quickly. However, the guidance document, I think we're going to add a couple of different categories to it from some of the conversation today and some other questions that we've received. However, there are some good examples in the PowerPoint that you can go off of right now. So look for that to be posted.
Great.
Yes, the webinar will be posted to the web page, technical assistance webpage.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for your cooperation, participation, and we're looking forward to approving these. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.